What's up everyone, hope you're doing good. Got another deck profile for you all today. This is probably my last Gallantmon deck that I'm doing, and it's probably the one I've been having the most fun with recently. Another kind of black-red combination one, just because for whatever reason I just really like that color combination. For the stars of this deck, we have Gallantmon himself, the new starter deck 7 version. He is 3 costs to digivolve into, which is very nice. That's the ideal range we're usually trying to look for, 3 or less. Especially since if we have our memory tamers on the field, it's nice to be able to know we can digivolve up and then still attack before passing the turn. He has security attack +1 built in, super nice, and when attacking, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4000 DP or less. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, he gains 3000 DP for the turn instead. So super nice, gives us a little bit of removal, which is super useful if we're trying to cut down our opponent's board or playing against something like Rookie Rush. And even better that even if he doesn't end up destroying anything, he's able to get that 3000 DP buff for the turn. Super nice, turning him into 14,000. And since we are running him in a primarily red focused deck, it means we have plenty of other ways to also buff his DP on top of that, meaning most of the time he's going to be pretty safe from any Digimon he can come into in security. So mostly he's just going to be having to worry about any potential option cards your opponent might have in security. So super nice, and that deletion effect is going to come in very handy. And then the other level 6 we are running in this deck is the new Gankoomon from BT6. Very awesome card. 12,000 DP, so a little bit stronger for to digivolve into, but I think it's worth it, especially with his effects. When digivolving, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. Super awesome. And it's nice to know that no matter what, as long as your opponent has Digimon in the field, he is going to be deleting them, since it's just lowest play cost, whether that's a high play cost or a low play cost. And in his second effect, your turn while your opponent has an unsuspended Digimon, this Digimon gains security attack +1. Pretty nice, more situational to Gallantmon, but it's nice to know that both of them potentially have an extra security attack they can get every time they check. The only potential downside of this card is just him costing 4, which is a little bit on the more expensive side, but we have ways to help out with that in this deck, which is very nice. So combined with Gankoomon and Gallantmon, we're running twin Royal Knights in this deck, and it's just super fun. So I'm excited to get into the rest of the deck. First up, starting with our Digitama, we have DemiMeramon. Super nice, really straightforward card to use. Just when attacking, when this Digimon attacks player, he gets +1000 DP for the turn. Always useful to have more DP on our Digimon when they're attacking in security. Help increase their survivability a little bit. And just overall, probably one of the best red Digi-Eggs we have right now. Moving on to our level 3s, we have our first, the new starter deck 7 Agumon. When attacking, if this Digimon attacks player, it gets +2000 DP for the turn. Again, very useful, just straightforward, buffing up our Digimon. Following him, we have our starter deck 1 Agumon. Your turn, this Digimon gets +1000 DP. So the 2 of them combined, mostly just there to help us make our Digimon stronger and give them a better chance of killing any Digimon our opponents may have or surviving security. Next up, we're running 3 copies of Guilmon, the starter deck 7 version, super awesome rookie. During your turn, if your opponent has a level 6 or higher Digimon in play, he can digivolve into Gallantmon in our hand for a memory cost of 4, ignoring the Digivolution requirements. Some fun warp digivolving. So just really nice, helps us potentially get into Gallantmon by surprise or just earlier in the game by skipping straight ahead to him if we happen to have all the right cards early on. And it's just super nice to have a secondary way of digivolving into Gallantmon, since sometimes you have those moments where you're missing champions or you're missing ultimates, so be able to just go straight into them, even if it's a little more expensive, is nice. And then his inheritable is pretty good too. During your turn, once per turn, if your opponent's Digimon is deleted, trigger draw 1. Just super nice, being able to draw extra cards is always nice, and since Gallantmon does have that effect built in, it's very useful. And a nice thing here too is that both Gallantmon and Gankoomon have effects that can delete Digimon either when they're digivolving or when they're attacking. So it's nice to know that he is useful for either of those Digivolutions. If you actually manage to delete something, you're going to get that extra card draw, which is nice. And then last up, we are running 4 copies of Monodramon, just there because he's a nice cheap 2-drop Digimon to play. So just really useful if we only have a little bit of memory left for the turn and we just need a little bit extra something to play. So with him out of the way, we move on to our level 4s now. We're running first 4 copies of Monochromon because blockers are important, and 1 to digivolve into. You all know the drill, nothing really more to it than that, just nice to have some cheap Digivolutions and something to block. And then after that we are running Starter Deck 1 Greymon, probably the best red level 4 right now. Just security attack +1, no conditions, just anything above it, get that. Super awesome card. So super nice for this deck, helps make sure all of our Digimon swing a little bit harder, and especially for Digimon like Gallantmon, it's nice because then he already has his built-in security attack +1, so we're potentially being able to check 3 security checks with him, and then the same thing with Gankoomon. So checking more security is always better, except for those moments where we check that one card that ends up killing our Digimon and it's kind of awkward, but outside of that, still good to have more security checks. So he's the main red level 4 we'd probably like to see while Digivolving up. Moving on to the next level 4 that I'm very excited about for this deck, we have the new Starter Deck 7 Groundramon. I actually love this card, specifically in this deck. During your turn, once return, when its opponent's Digimon is deleted, gain 1 memory. That is very awesome, very nice in this deck because he combos specifically well with Gankoomon, since his one downside is being 4 to Digivolve, so normal turns we're going to hope to start our turn with 3 if we have a Tamer out. Since Gankoomon does have that delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost effect on Digivolution, means that even though we're paying 4 to Digivolve, if we have Growlmon under him, we're going to get that 1 memory back. So as long as we are able to start our turn at 3 memory, we're able to keep it our turn, delete something, and then still swing with Gankoomon after because of our Growlmon's effect. So he combos super well with him, and it's nice that he also works well with Gallantmon, of course, who has that deletion effect every turn when he attacks if he's able to delete something weak. So the fact that Growlmon just works with both of our level 6s in this deck is very nice. Just makes him a really useful card. Definitely a super awesome new level 4 in the right circumstances and decks. And then that is the end of our level 4s, so moving on, we have our first level 5. We are running 5 copies of Megadramon. This Digimon is also treated as black, very nice because it means he can Digivolve up into Gankoomon or Gallantmon. And then during your turn, this Digimon gets an extra 2000 DP. Again, just buffing up our Royal Knights to make sure they can hit as hard as possible and either delete anything on our opponent's board, any Digimon they have out there, or just try to help make sure they live through when they're checking any big Digimon in security. And then next we have 4 copies of Gigadramon, here just because he's treated as red or black, which means he can Digivolve into either of them. And during your opponent's turn, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP. Not as useful as Megadramon, but neither of our Digimon have reboot, so knowing they're going to be a little bit harder to swing into during your opponent's turn can be nice. And then we're just running 1 copy of Groundramon. He can only Digivolve into the Gallantmon, which is a little lame, but also he's only 2 costs to Digivolve into, and he's a 5 play cost level 5 to drop. So honestly, 5 cost level 5s can be nice to just hard throw out there in the right situation. So he's kind of just there to fill things out, make sure we have 1 more level 5. And even though he can't Digivolve into Gankoomon, we still have Gallantmon. So he's just nice in there to kind of fill out the level 5s. And then again, back to the level 6s, we have Gankoomon, super awesome. And then combined with Gallantmon, we have a pretty good amount of removal in this deck. Gankoomon, when he Digivolves out, to just blow up whatever's on the field. And then Gallantmon to try to repeatedly swing and clear out any little threats the opponent might have. The nice thing about Gankoomon in this deck too is at the start, if it's your first match with someone, they're probably not going to be expecting you to Digivolve from any of these red Digimon into Gankoomon, who can just delete whatever big Digimon they have on the board. So it's very nice for catching people kind of unawares, especially in that first match against someone. If they don't see it coming, they bring out their big Digimon on board, boom, Digivolve into Gankoomon next turn, and take them out. And then for our last Digimon, we are running 2 copies of Omnimon Ultra S, a Digimon I have not played in a very long time, but pretty useful in this deck. It's nice because he can obviously Digivolve from either Gankoomon or Omnimon Ultra S. And when Digivolving, trigger D-Digivolve 1, and then afterwards delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less. Helps with that board clear, helps with things like Rookie Rush, where our opponents are going to be building a wide board and just could delete multiple things. And then the second effect, when attacking, you may make this Digimon unblockable for the turn by returning one of its, say, level 6 Digivolution cards to your hand. Nice to make it unblockable, especially if you only need 1 more attack to end the game, or you're just trying to like ignore your opponent's blockers that are on the field. But also very useful, specifically I think he's more useful for me with Gallantmon, returning that Gallantmon into hand if we have a Guilmon on the field to then just warp Digivolve, get another level 6 on the board. Can be really nice. But then also even just getting another Gankoomon in the hand so we can once again Digivolve into him and delete something on our opponent's side of field. Really good. So between all of our Digimon, we have a pretty good amount of removal from our level 6s and level 7s, which is very nice. So then moving on to our options, we just run 2 copies of Gaia Force. Nice to be able to delete anything and to be able to pick what you want to delete. Doesn't really hurt not running more since we have, again, like I said, plenty of removal between our 6s and 7s. Then for our last option, we're running 2 copies of Lightning Joust. Super awesome, just 1 cost. And then one of our Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn and security attack plus 1. So combined with our level 6s and our starter deck 1 Greymon can make sure our Digimon hit for very hard in the right situation. It's just always nice to get that extra security attack and to help end the game as quickly as possible and prevent our opponent from coming back. And then its security effect, if it's in security, it gets added to your hand. Very nice. Really, this card's just useful on any Digimon too, especially if we're trying to end a game quick. Any of your Digimon who just need to have 1 extra security attack to clear out your opponent and set up for 1 more attack to get game is very nice. And then last but not least, we're just running 2 Tamers. We are running 2 copies of the Black Izzy. Start of your turn, if you have 2 memory or less, set your memory to 3, so always nice. And then the second effect isn't as useful as we'd like it to be here, but still just to me kind of just felt like the best Tamer since I kind of just wanted that main start of turn effect to get 3 memory minimum. But on play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. If all of the revealed cards are black, gain 1 memory. Place the cards on top of your deck in any order afterwards. We're usually never going to be proccing that effect to gain 1 memory since we're only running a handful of black cards in this deck, but being able to then pick and choose the order of those 3 cards on top of the deck when we put it back can be very useful, especially just with this deck. There's lots of times where we want to see a specific Digimon. Maybe we're looking specifically for Greymon, right, to get security attack. Maybe we have Gankoomon in hand. We know we want to Digivolve up, so we want to get that Groundramon as soon as possible. Maybe we're looking for a level 5. We need that right now, or a level 6. It's just nice to be able to stack the deck a little bit in your favor, even if it's just 3 cards. Sometimes those 3 cards can do wonders, especially when you're looking for that specific Digivolution piece you need. So that is the deck, everyone. Thank you for checking it out. By far my favorite Gallantmon-ish deck I've been playing recently. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Just really nice, good removal options between Gankoomon and Gallantmon and Alter S. And it's just been a super fun deck to play. And it's just awesome to be able to combine 2 of my personal favorite Royal Knights. The one other card I'd like to mention, potentially putting in this deck, is a Delicate Plan. Having 2 of these also maybe in place of either Gaia Forces or the Lightning Joust can be very nice. During your main phase, one of your Digimon gains this Digimon, doesn't activate the security effects of any option cards, it checks for the turn. Very useful since again we have lots of ways to buff the DP of our Digimon, so assuming things go well, we don't have to worry too much about Gankoomon or Gallantmon dying to Digimon security. It's mostly going to be those security effects of option cards that we're really going to worry about. The main reason I don't run this card is because personally I never have ever had this card in my hand when I actually need it. It's just always there, either clogging me early in the game or I'm just waiting to draw it to like finish my opponent off. Never get it. Finally attack. Blows up in my face. It's the one card that somehow manages to never be in my hand when I actually need it, but always there when I don't. But that's mostly just my own personal unlucky experiences with this card. Outside of that, it's a very good card. So potentially I would probably just switch out Lightning Joust for Delicate Plan, or maybe Gaia Forces, or maybe 1 Gaia Force, 1 Lightning Joust, and 2 Delicate Plans. That's the only other card I would mention probably being good to run in this deck. Outside of that, it's been a lot of fun. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Gonna be doing some fun Greymon themed decks coming out in the next week, and then getting ready to transition into some classic collection decks towards the end of the month. Please let me know if you liked the deck and consider subscribing if you did. Hope you all are doing well. See you in the next one.